Let's ask some seasoned political and economic experts if they agree with my advice. Fox News contributor and president of Independent Women's Voice, Tammy Bruce. And come in, Stuart Varney, the host of Varney and Company on FBN. So, Stuart, do you see what I did there? I go on Stuart's show all the time. I love it. It's such fun. And he always says, come in, Steve Hilton. So I'm repaying the compliment.
I'll take it. OK. So, go ahead. What's your question?
No, you tell me. Did I get it right? Should they focus not just on the economy doing well, but on the simple fact that the Democrats would increase your taxes by $2,000?
You're onto something there, Steve, and I agree they should go after the Nancy Pelosi's and the Democrats of this world, who really will cost America a fortune. But the state of the economy, in my opinion, it is the greatest story rarely told. We do have a booming economy, 4% growth, double what we had in the Obama era, plenty of jobs. We have prosperity. We're back to it. But you don't hear about it. Did you read about this in the New York Times today? Did you hear it on the evening news? No, you did not. So I have no problem with the president and the Republicans getting out there and pounding the table. Look what we've got. Prosperity. It is a feeling of dynamism and vigor. Pound the table, put out that message. But yes, by all means, say this goes away if you vote that way.
Well, I think, Stuart, they should put you out there. You're fired up about it. That was the most passionate articulation of what's gone on that I've seen. And by the way, I think we've got a poll. There's a really interesting poll that shows that people's faith in the economy and their belief that it's doing well has really, doubled, I think, is the actual data there. You've already got it on screen. So you're right that people are seeing that. It just needs to be emphasized. Tammy, can I get your take on all this?
Well, look, I think that what's interesting here, especially with that poll, you still see 51% saying it's only fair or poor. And it's because you've got a media, as Stuart noted, that only focuses on the negative. And even though they've noticed their paychecks, the fact is they're getting hammered every day with a negative message. And that's what liberals and Democrats require, is to depress people once again and to make them think that maybe what you think is good is not happening everywhere. Maybe this is an anomaly for you. Mm-hmm. And this is why I do think the president and his team and all of us should have a responsibility to remind people about the truth of the matter. And look, you've got the best economy, like in 4 years, consumer sentiment, the highest in 18. But the other problem is, and why the president needs to remind people that this is due to policy, Americans can begin to believe that this is the natural state, that this is just who we are, no matter who it is that's governing, that it's, New York's going to be the same, whether it's Giuliani or David Dinkins, right? I mean, that's not true. Policy matters. Decisions matter. Leadership matters. And this is what President Trump represents and what he must remind people of.
But on that note, I think you could easily attack the far left of the Democrat Party, because it seems to me that the socialists have taken over. You can make a very good argument that America does not appreciate socialism, that it's a failure elsewhere in the world, and it would be a failure here. You can frighten voters with that word socialism when you spell out what it means. And I think the Republicans should do it.
And we have a real-time example in Venezuela, right? Yep. It's not like this is not some kind of seminar at college. It's unfolding in front of us in the 21st century, which is shocking, considering what it did in the murder of tens of millions of people in the 20th century. And they want it to return.
Yes.
This makes no sense. And the Republicans have got to make sure Americans understand the difference.
May I just say,
Steve, interesting. You don't have to go. Yes, go ahead, Stuart.
I just want to say this. I'm a refugee from socialism. I'm one of the few people in America who's actually lived in a socialist society, and it absolutely does not work. I left England in the 1970s when we just about shut down the economy because of socialism. We should stress that. You don't want this. This is America. You don't want that nonsense.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think, again, very, very powerful. You missed out on the Thatcher Revolution, but you enjoyed the Reagan Revolution. So, you probably had it better. But it's interesting that word is just no longer toxic, it seems, within the Democratic Party. They're embracing it. I mean, you don't have to go as far as Venezuela. Just go down to Florida with the primary victory there last week. It's interesting, isn't it?
But to some people, Steve, the message that the far left is putting out would be attractive. We'll give you health care. We will give you food. We'll give you a housing subsidy. We will give you everything you need to live, even if you're an illegal immigrant, and that's for California. That, to some people, that is an attractive message, especially young folks who've not yet got a big enough paycheck to pay serious taxes.
And so, Tammy, do you think all these points that you and Stuart have been making are going to cut through in the elections, or in the end, the next few weeks going to be all about, Mueller and Russia and impeachment and all of that kind of soap opera, rather than these core issues that affect people's lives directly?
Well, yes, that's going to be the war of communication. Clearly, mainstream legacy media want the negative to be the conversation. They want to be talking about the Russia hoax and porn stars, right? And then the American people have got to worry about the future. And they know this, and they've seen the difference. It's been a very rapid change the president's brought on. And you don't have to think back far, and it doesn't have to be a story at the dinner table. You remember what it was like 2 years ago yourself. And you remember not having a job, and you remember not having any hope, and you remember not having any money. And then suddenly it's changed. And this is something that American people understand. There's, of course, a cadre of young people, as has been noted, who've never had a paycheck even, who've been living in the parents' basement, and who did not get a good education because of the current education system. We're not taught history or political science, and they don't know really what socialism is. It sounds good. And this is what still also all of us have to push back on. The media has to be honest about the truth of the matter about the economy and that it's good. Parents have to make sure everybody in their conversations understand what's really going on, because we had lost the future not so long ago. It's back, and it has to be fought for. So that conversation, we're going to have to overcome the negative that the legacy media and liberals want to push, and I think we can do it, and Americans want it. We saw that in 2016. We should see it again in the midterms. I predict the Republicans will hold both the House and the Senate.
Ooh, okay.
Wow, bold.
Very interesting.
So I'll give you the last word, Stuart. What do you make of that?
I hope and pray that Tammy is right, because I would not wish to see the Democrats regain control of the House. That would spell an awfully unpleasant political future.
Well, there you go. That's. I think we can all agree with that. Stuart, it's so fun to have you. I'm really glad you could make it. Good to see you. And Tammy,